Hello, Sagittarius. Thank you for tuning into this week's read. For the main part of the read, I'm using Paulina Tarot by Paulina Cassidy. If you can see her at the top there. Paulina Tarot. Supportive Oracle cards, Queen of the Moon Oracle by Stacey DeMarco. Sagittarius. Okay, what do we got for Sagittarius? That's interesting. Okay. Starting off, where are we going? I'm cheating. I'm like cheating, like, alright. I like where this is going. I always look at the end of the book first, you know? I'm one of those. You got the Hierophant and Justice coming in the beginning, which they have the Hierophant represented by kind of like a tree person, which is pretty cool. This is like in the tarot deck. This is representing Justice would be Libra, Hierophant would be Taurus, but I mean you're Sagittarius. You're neither of those. It's just interesting because it's kind of like you're stabilizing your situation, looking at what's fair, kind of like you're stepping back, looking at the situation, and you're like, wait a minute, is there a card missing? I thought there was another card here. Maybe I imagined it. I thought the Fear card popped out, but must be it didn't. That's weird. When I'm feeling this with the Hierophant and the Justice, it's literally stepping back and like, wait a minute, where have things been? What is this built from? And it's not so much about what's going on right now, but where did all this come from? What did people do before now? And everything they did before now is creating this moment. So they're getting their just due. Some people are getting their just due. This card, the Purity, it reminds me of like a waterfall feel. Kind of like we're cleansing out what's not right. Like whatever happened here, people created it themselves. It's not about what somebody thinks is right. It's about like, okay, it's all coming out in the wash now. This is what was happening. This is how this got here. Now all of those things that brought it to this point are washing away, and we're seeing what it's really made of. It's kind of like, it feels like the water's like washing away all the dirt, and you're seeing what this really is, what this situation really is made of. It's it is an uncomfortable moment, but for you, you're just kind of like, it's uncomfortable only in the sense of like, oh, that's where this came from. This is why this is here. This is why this is happening this way. You might be learning some truths that you kind of wondered about, but you're now like seeing, oh, that's definitely how that is. The Nine of Wands and the Faith. See, I feel people are trying to continue on the same path. Whatever they did, they got the situation to where it is, but it's not quite right. And I feel like that's, again, the justice on your side with the Hierophant. Like, wait a minute. We're here because you did that in the past, and that's what got us here. If we keep doing that, if you keep doing the same thing, we're not going to leave this area. We're going to stay in the same energy, and we don't want that. We don't want the same outcome. If you keep doing that, like if you keep writing this the same way, in the same words, to the same people, you're going to get the same result. You don't want that result anymore. We got to change things. You can't just have faith that sooner or later things are going to change. You got to change to make things change. And I feel like you might be telling this to somebody. You got to change to make these things change. Is it like, okay, hold on. I don't see this like a bad conversation. Like, I don't see like people like fighting over this, but I feel like you have to go over this like a few times. This is not going to be a one and done conversation. You have to keep coming around to this and keep talking about it in different ways and different examples. Like, you see how you've done this in the past, and we're here. That's what got us here. If we keep going in circles, like, and you have to keep like showing that. Like by doing this, we're going in circles. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. Like we're not going anywhere. If you want to go somewhere, we got to do things differently, and then we can maybe start a different circle somewhere else, and that's something different. But that's for another time. You got the King of Cups here with how things are coming together. They're listening to you. They know you're not trying to like pull any fast one or just. You're not trying to convince them of anything. You're just kind of using the truth about where you're showing the truth about what's going on, and like you're showing them, hey, you want things to change. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect things to just change. You can't keep planting corn and expect tomatoes. Like you can't do that. You can't just keep planting corn and like I don't understand why I don't get tomatoes. You don't get tomatoes because you keep planting corn. Like that's why you're not getting tomatoes. You're planting corn and you keep doing it and just having hope and faith and wish and wish and wish. You can't just wish that you wish to have tomatoes. Well, get some tomato seeds, plant some tomatoes. Like I feel like you might have to explain it that like to that obvious. Like it's because you can't plant corn and expect to get tomatoes. That makes no sense. You keep planting corn, planting corn, planting corn. You're gonna keep getting corn, getting corn, getting corn. You want to get something else, plant something else. To me, it's a little frustrating, kind of like because I feel like to you when you're explaining it, it's that obvious. To you, it's like that obvious, but to them, it's like a seed's a seed. You plant it, you see what happens, and you're like, no. If you plant a corn seed, you will get corn. To you, it's that obvious. I think that's why we keep saying it. To you, it's that just obvious. Just this is what you're going to get. You do that, you're going to get this. They don't see it that way. It takes a while for you to really kind of let that sink in. I do see. That was the Knight of Cups, by the way. I think I called it the King of Cups, but it is the Knight of Cups. They seem to be inspired by this. Because it's almost like you're saying a seed is not just a seed. You can't just take a seed and hope what you want grows from it. A specific seed will get you a specific result. Like, they're not just like, throw one in there and see what happens. If you throw a corn seed, you get corn. You throw a rose seed, you get a rose. You throw a blueberry seed, you get a blueberry. Like, you know, and they're just throwing seeds like, you know, oh, seeds can be anything they want. No, seeds can't be whatever they want. It's what they came from is what they're going to become. The conversation, I feel like, to you can be a little bit frustrating because when you look at it, it's very logical, kind of like, no, you do a cucumber seed, you're going to get a cucumber. You can't do a cucumber seed and say, oh, I hope it becomes a squash. No, that's going to be a cucumber. It's funny, but it's crazy. It's a little crazy. But you make sense to them. Like, you kind of clue them in on this. Like, oh, you know, that makes sense. And you're like, I know. I know that makes sense. It's funny because, I don't know, to you it's very obvious. And I think that's the whole point of the analogy. To you it's plain as day. To them, they're just like, huh? And you have to explain it. Probably a few times. But once you get through, this is one of those situations which are really nice when they happen in life. Once you make your point and it gets through to them, it does make an impact and things do go very well. With the Ten of Cups, it goes very well. Things make sense. It's really good. You're happy with the information you're getting back from them, because when it finally clicks, when it finally makes sense. Oh, so you're saying if I plant a cucumber seed, I'm going to get cucumbers. It's not going to, there's no chance that it's going to be a squash. And you're like, nope, it's not going to be a squash. No, it's not. You want a squash? You need to plant a squash seed. That's what you need to do. And then you need to decide which squash you want. There's different types of squash, so you make sure you get that squash you want. You plant the squash seed that you're looking for. That's what you need to do. When it finally clicks in, they're all about it. And they seem very inspired about this. Again, to you, very obvious. To them, not so much. Not so much. And it's the aspect that you're seeing, just to be fair. You know what I mean? What's coming in? This next, I feel like this all happens at once. It's not bad. I just feel like people see what they want to see, and that's difficult. Because I'm getting the hunger with, what is this, the 7? 7 of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles to me sometimes talks about like it's just continuing work, right? Continuing the same. They are moving forward and they are listening, but they're still stuck in some type of rut. The hunger with the Seven of Pentacles talks to me about repetition. I usually think of it as repetition. Same old, same old. It's like going to the same job day after day, year after year. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And the hunger is like, they're really addicted to the way they've been doing things, and they're like, but the way I was doing it was so much easier, but not getting them the result they wanted. So it wasn't really easier. It's just they were more comfortable with it. It was just they didn't have to think about it as much. But if they really want the outcome they're looking for, they need to change how they're doing things. So there is this weird, like, it's kind of like, you know, the best way I can think of this is like bowling. They need to stay in the middle, right? Not go in either gutter, but like they keep kind of veering towards the gutter. Like if they get in that gutter, it's going to be hard to get it back out. You know what I mean? You might have to roll another ball down the, you know, have to take another turn to make a better shot here. Because I feel like we're trying to not let them get back in the old common groove that really didn't work. There's going to be like trying to keep them on point. Kind of like, all right, remember when we were talking about you got to plant the squash seed, and if you want acorn squash, you plant an acorn squash seed. Remember that? Like you're going over to just you're planting apple seeds now. Now those are apple seeds. You're not going to get a squash from apple seeds. Well, they're seeds though, so it could happen. You're like, no, we talked about that. Apple seeds don't make squash. They don't do that. It seems, I know this seems like the most ridiculous analogy, but I feel like when you're talking to this person about whatever subject it is, it feels like that to you. Kind of like, we've already talked about this. I thought you understood, and they keep regressing, and it's like, why are we doing this? Eight of Swords. You're having a hard time. It's like, how come they seem to understand and they keep regressing? And then you keep trying to help them get in line with it. I do think this is going to work, but I'm also getting like, with the Wheel of Fortune and discernment, it's like, things go forward and things start going the right way, but I feel like you're looking at this like, are they just going the right way? Like, is it just like a happy coincidence? Or are they just listening long enough and doing it long enough to get some result, and then they just try to abandon it, thinking they don't really have to do it the right way? Like, what's going on? Like, especially like the way they're doing it, the results. Like, for example, if you're going to plant a squash seed versus an apple seed, right? You're not going to get apples the same year you plant an apple seed. Like, that tree has to mature and be around for a few years. Squash seeds, you know, within a season, within the growing season, you'll get a squash that same year, at least, depending on where you live, you know. But apple seeds, it takes a few years. The reason I'm using this analogy is because it's kind of like, they have long-term goals, and they're doing short-term, they're short-term committed to these changes. Like, it goes back and forth. It seems to be very frustrating. The discernment with the wheel is telling me that you keep getting opportunities to move it where you need to move it. You know what the goal is supposed to be. They don't seem to be going there easily. They just don't seem to naturally groove with it. So you just get opportunities to just kind of push it where it is supposed to go and just kind of let it be there. I'm also getting your energy kind of like, listen, I'm not going to keep doing these circles. So I'm going to push it where it needs to go, and I'm just going to keep going. And if they get mad at me, so what? I'm not into wasting my time. Like, if they want to get mad at me and get rid of me, then fine. They can do it themselves. I'm not going to keep going in these circles for them. So when you keep getting opportunities, that's like the wheel working to your favor. Every now and then is the wheel turning to your favor, and it's kind of like, okay, this is not where that's supposed to be, so I'm going to push it where it needs to go and keep going. And you just kind of like, it's almost like you're just kind of pushing them over into line every now and then, just pushing them over into spot, and you just keep going. And that's a lot. That's a lot. It seems to work, though. You got the Six of Cups, the Temperance, and the Ten of Wands. It takes a long time. This is a long time. This takes a long time. The Temperance, it takes a long time. The Temperance here. Ten of Wands is success with a lot of stress, but it is success. And that last one, the Six of Cups, I just feel like as it keeps going, you're aware of where this person's going to start slipping up and start going back into that rut, or back into that gutter, or wherever they were, and you're going to start to like preemptively kind of like just kind of block it, kind of like, okay, if we go down this street, they're going to try to go over to that house, so we're going to avoid. I'm just going to try to keep them off that street. You know, it's kind of like that. Like, okay, here comes that situation, and then when they get up to the situation, they're going to try to go back to the way they used to do it. So I got to kind of curve them out of there. I'm going to get ready for it, just kind of curve them out of there before they get in there, because it happens that way every time. The Six of Cups is like you're going to get more and more in tune with like what the triggers are and what gets them to kind of regress into a way that wasn't working. And I see you constantly fighting to get this moving forward, kind of like, because you put a lot of effort in this too, and you're like, I don't want to put a lot of effort in and just end up in a circle. So I feel like that's why you're doing this, because like if I'm going to put the effort in, I want this to go somewhere. Judgment does go in your favor, and it does keep going better. At some point, it will hit the goal. It just feels long term. Again, when I felt we were using the apple seeds, like I feel like this is a long term goal. It's going to take some time to get there. It's almost like for some of you, it's like maybe it's a partner or something, and you're trying to save for a house, and you have to find ways around them to get them to kind of almost force them to save money or force them to get the credit to improve. Like almost like, you know, cutting up the credit card so they don't have access to it, so they can't use the credit card, and then, you know, maybe changing the credit card number or changing this so that they just oh yeah, we changed that. I'll have to go get it for you. I'll give you a couple days. I have to see where I filed it. I don't know where it went. It may be stuff like that, which sounds a little bit whatever it sounds like, but you have to do what you got to do. It will work out. It will work out. It's like this is one of those times where it's like constantly a little bit annoying in various degrees, but ultimately it will succeed in the way you need it to. And I think we're there. All right, I'm going to shut this down here. I hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. Thank you.